Hey Squishies! Back again with another vlog. This is Steven Universe, Season 5, Episodes 11 and 12, Lars of the Stars, and Jungle Moon. I want to apologize in advance if there's any sneezing or coughing or my voice doing funny things in this video. I am sick again. It's just, I don't know what it is about this winter, but it just keeps happening. So, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, let's jump right in. This was a fun pair of episodes. I really enjoyed Lars of the Stars in particular. It was like this great throwback to like really old school anime. Stuff that I actually mostly haven't seen, but that I recognize just from osmosis from having been in anime fandom for, 20-ish years. Good God, I'm old. So like Lars's outfit, like it was shown in like a preview or something a long time ago, and I immediately looked at it and went, it's Captain Larlock. Like, he's Captain Harlock. The outfit, the scar over his eyes, the skulls, like, yeah, that's Captain Harlock. Which is a show I've never actually seen. But I know it's like this space pirate dude as the hero, and that's pretty much what Lars is doing. He's stealing ships from the evil empire and on the run with his loyal crew and having adventures, and he's even got this nemesis in Emerald, and it's great. I really never expected I would enjoy Lars this much. I freely admit I really strongly disliked him early on. Frankly, for most of the show, I really strongly disliked him, but he has really picked up the end of last season, beginning of this one. So I really enjoyed him. At first, I was a little off-put because I felt like Emerald's voice acting was just not good. It was like weirdly flat and felt like it was emphasizing the wrong things. And also her dialogue was kind of terrible. It was very, I am going to explain the thing now. And then I realized that was exactly what they were doing. They were doing a bad anime dub. Which is essentially all anime dubs prior to the early 2000s. And even then, most of them. It's really only recently that anime dubs have kind of stopped sucking. And they're still just not up to the level of how good the voice acting on cartoons, like Western cartoons, has been for like a good 25 years now. Which is, it's not there's inherently anything bad about a dub, it's just they're just not as good. They're just not as well done as Western cartoons. They're not as well acted or directed because they don't pay very well. And so most of the people in that field, if they're good, they gravitate to other things that pay better. I'm sorry, but that's just, how it goes. That said, there are some really good people who have done some anime voice acting. There are some people who have done some really good work. Not really in the 70s and 80s, though. And that's what I feel like they were going for with Emerald, was this kind of stilted, trying to match the mouth flaps of animation that was drawn for a different language entirely. Japanese tends to have more syllables per second than English. It's just a, statistical difference between languages. English has a relatively low number of syllables per second compared to a lot of other languages. And the result is that the mouth flaps can be a little hard to line up. You have to talk unusually quickly and in this kind of stilted and excessively wordy way in order just to keep up with the mouth flaps. Because an English sentence would get said in the same amount of time, but with fewer mouth flaps if it were a typical sentence. So you have to kind of tweak the language a little bit And the result, until people started getting really good at it, which is a relatively recent development, it was rare, not unheard of, but it was rare to have something that was done in a particularly good, compelling, interesting way. So I kind of made my peace with Emerald. I got the joke, and that was fun. I love Lars's overacting. He is in his element. He is getting to be melodramatic and cool and rebellious, and he is eating up every second right up until he's reminded that Sadie exists. And then he turns briefly back into that pathetic, selfish little douchebag that's like, how dare she have fun instead of being sad about me? And, Steven and Connie and Stevonnie put him right in his place. They're like, fuck you. You guys are both sad about being separated, but life goes on. You can't just sit around being sad all the time. You can't just mope about somebody forever. That's not how it works. You do what you gotta do to go on with your life. He'll eventually get back to Earth, I'm sure. And then he and Sadie will, both have changed in the course of their separation. And, we'll see. Maybe it's better between them now. Maybe it doesn't work between them now. That's life. It goes on. So I liked that they, made that point. The other thing I really liked that I wanted to bring up, that I noticed in this episode, and then it was kind of emphasized in the next one, is... So, Stevonnie has, of course, always been, I don't know if you want to call it intersex, or androgynous, or, genderqueer, kind of all of the above. Our terms for sex and gender don't quite work for other species. They don't really work that well for our own species. And so, they're inadequate. But whatever you want to call them, they're an experience, as this episode reminded us. But in past episodes, I feel like they've a little bit emphasized them as kind of femme-leaning. They've always been drawn as having a little bit of hips, a little bit of boobs. Kevin was attracted to them in what seemed like, he saw them as a teen girl. Or a young woman. How old is Kevin? 20-ish? So I think he probably saw them as being a young woman. And I like that this episode kind of went the other way. They were drawn a little bit more straight up and down. And we saw them with stubble in the second half. And I really like that because it kind of reminds us that Stevonnie is not a man, Stevonnie is not a woman, Stevonnie is an experience. So I guess that's probably about it for, no, there's one other thing I want to say about Lars Listeners. I loved the gag about, I wish we still had shields and weapons, because that was a perfect little jab at those kinds of, space opera, swashbuckling science fiction stories, which, again, I haven't seen a ton of anime from the era when that was popular, but I grew up on that stuff in terms of, books. I read a crap ton of pulp science fiction as, 9, 10, 11 years old. And, yeah, that kind of stuff would happen all the time. This, posturing, well, I know you're not going to destroy me, so I'm going to lower my shield so that you don't have the option of, trashing my ship. One shot will blow me up, so you've got to miss. And never get into the whole, well, okay, but I don't care how confident you are, exposing yourself like that is kind of not a great move. And I enjoyed the joke that kind of poked fun at that. Anyway, moving on to the second episode. I feel like this is probably the episode people were talked about. I haven't really talked to people. Like, I first watched this episode about a week ago, which is when it was new. Like, right now it's Saturday. I think I watched it on Monday night? Sunday night? One of the two. It had to have been Sunday night because I watched it with Vika and she left Monday. And, you know, I liked it. I enjoyed it. And then I haven't really looked at what people are saying about it or seen any, like, reactions to it or commentaries on it or anything like that. So I don't know, really, what people are talking about. And weirdly, not much of it has come across my Tumblr. I don't know if people aren't watching Steven Universe as much as anymore, or if the Tumblrs I followed that happen to do a lot of Steven Universe have drifted away from it, or what. But the point is, I haven't seen much of it, much about it, so I don't know how people have reacted, but I feel like this is probably the episode that people had more of a reaction to. And so I'm kind of the reverse of that. I was like, on this one. It wasn't bad. But I feel like the whole Pink Diamond thing wasn't as revelatory as it wanted to be. I feel like... I mean, to me, the biggest question is, how did Stevonnie sense that? How did she end up like, Steven has had these diamond dreams before, but always when there was a diamond around. Now he's just in a place that has diamondy stuff. But I guess that's enough, sleeping in that place. I mean, I guess it was, like, the diamond command post for Yellow, so it's got a lot of diamondiness in it, I guess. Excuse me. I mean, like, Pink being quite small? Yeah, okay. There's always been reason to suspect that she's on a lower tier than Yellow and Blue, you know. The symbol of the Diamond Authority has had Pink at the bottom. In the murals in the on the moon, her mural, she only had one planet, where the others all had several, implying that Earth is like her first colony. So yeah, I didn't feel like that was particularly revelatory. The idea that she was kind of a bratty kid was, I guess, interesting, but we don't know how many thousands of years ago this was. This could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago. We don't know. She could have changed a lot in that time, because, you know, we're told that gems don't grow, but frankly, I don't think that's true. We've seen, we've had Steven directly contradict that. It's like, but you guys have grown, you've changed since I was a baby. So, I think in the millennia that a diamond hasn't, a diamond doesn't have all these other authorities on top of it pressing down. It has room to grow up and out. So I feel like it's quite plausible that Pink Diamond did grow eventually and got this planet of her own and all. Although, come to think of it, in, like, the recreations in the trial, if I'm remembering right, Pink Diamond wasn't that much... Did we see Pink Diamond in those? Or did we see her somewhere else? I'm pretty sure somewhere we saw something with Pink Diamond and Rose, and Pink Diamond wasn't significantly larger than Rose. But I can't remember. Maybe it was the last Steven Bomb? Garnet had, like, a flashback there? Maybe. Anyway, point is, okay. Like, if there's one thing we've learned, it's that the size of a gem doesn't have that much to do with their power. These aren't the Urkins. They don't determine authority by height. Although, there were some gags kind of pointing in that direction with Peridot and Yellow Diamond, but that was because, what's her name, the writer? Has a Z in it, I think. Lauren something. Lauren Zook. I think that's her name, Lauren Zook, is a huge Invader Zim fan. So she was just making the joke that Peridot is essentially Invader Zim, and that's why, like, Yellow is 1 billion feet tall, and that seems to be like a factor in her authority. It's really just that, you know, it's an Invader Zim reference. Trying to think what else I want to say about these 2 episodes. Like I said, I liked that we saw Stevonnie shaving. It's a little thing, but it's a nice reminder that, no, this is someone who is an experience. Both, neither, all of the above, something completely different. Other than that, it was just like a fun little pair of episodes. I liked it. I note that we have not yet gotten back to Earth at the end, have we? Though I suppose that can happen whenever, because they can just pop through Lars's head. Yeah. It was a good couple episodes, and I enjoyed it. And I can't wait until we have more Steven Universe. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time. Bye!